There's no such thing as a perfect TV. Anybody who swears they've found one is either lying to you or hasn't owned it long enough yet. Every television ever made has a catch-up port it's missing, a format it skips, or a price that stings. But here's the thing almost nobody tells you. In 2026, 4 TVs get so close to flawless that the only complaints left are the kind you'll forget about within a week of plugging them in. We're talking about sets that nail the picture, nail the gaming, nail the brightness, and nail the everyday stuff across the board, not just in one category. And I'm not going to wave my hands and call them perfect. I'm going to show you the exact catch with every one of them, the real prices, the real specs, and the one weakness each TV hides. Then I'll tell you why, for most people, that weakness barely matters. By the end, you'll know exactly which of these 4 belongs in your living room. Let's start at number 4, the Hisense U8QG, the TV that makes every other set on this list nervous about its price tag. Here's why it earns the spot. Hisense rates this thing at up to 5,000 nits of peak brightness, with up to 5,600 individual local dimming zones lighting up the screen. And that's not just marketing. Independent testing still measured it at well over 3,000 nits in real-world HDR testing. In plain terms, that's enough brightness to embarrass a lot of TVs costing dramatically more. You can park this TV in a room with the blinds wide open, sun pouring in, and the picture still punches right through, helped by an anti-reflection coating that does a remarkably good job keeping glare under control. Now the gaming. This is where Hisense quietly went all in. You get a native 165 Hz refresh rate, variable refresh rate up to 288 Hz, and AMD FreeSync Premium Pro. So whether you're on a PS5, a Series X, or a high-end PC, motion stays locked and tear-free. PC gamers even get a USB-C display input, something almost nobody else in this class offers. And it doesn't stop there. This set supports Dolby Vision IQ, HDR10+, Dual IMAX Enhanced, and Filmmaker mode. Hold on to that Dolby Vision part. It's going to matter when we climb higher up this list. For sound, there's a built-in 4.1.2 channel system tuned for Dolby Atmos, so you get real height and surround before you ever bolt on a soundbar. And it runs Google TV, so every major app is right there waiting. The price? The 55-inch launched at $1,200, scaling all the way up to a 100-inch monster. But the real story is what happens when it goes on sale. The 65-inch has repeatedly dropped well below the $1,000 mark. That's flagship-level performance for upper mid-range money. So what's the catch? Because every TV on this list has exactly one. For the U8QG, it's the nature of mini LED itself. In a dark room, you'll catch a little blooming around bright objects, and the viewing angles aren't the widest. So the picture dims a touch if you're sitting way off to the side. Fast motion isn't quite as clean as the best OLEDs, and the built-in subwoofer can distort on really deep bass. And for most people watching from the couch, in a normal room, you'll rarely notice any of it. That's why the U8QG lands on this list, not because it's perfect, but because it's surprisingly hard to complain about. Now we land at number 3, the Sony Bravia 8 II, and if your TV spends most of its life playing movies, this might be the most important minute of the entire video. Sony's reputation was never built on being the brightest or the cheapest. It was built on making the picture look real. The Bravia 8 II uses Sony's XR processor, with AI-based scene recognition that analyzes each scene and enhances it to look more lifelike, and the result is the kind of image that makes you forget there's a screen there at all. Motion is where Sony still separates itself from most of the industry. Fast camera pans, sports, and film content look incredibly natural without the strange soap opera effect that lesser processing can introduce. This year, Sony made a serious jump. The Bravia 8 II upgrades from the standard W OLED panel of its predecessor to a QD OLED panel, and that swap pays off twice. It's about 25% brighter than the original Bravia 8, while keeping colors rich and saturated in highlights where traditional OLEDs start to lose some intensity. Reds, greens, and blues stay vibrant even in the brightest parts of the image. A built-in temperature sensor paired with XR contrast booster controls brightness right down to the pixel level to add depth, detail, and dimensionality. For HDR, you get Dolby Vision support along with HDR10 and HLG. Then there's the trick nobody else pulls off as cleanly. With Acoustic Surface Audio Plus, the screen itself vibrates to produce the sound, so audio comes from exactly where the action is happening on screen. It's one of the best built-in sound systems on any TV. The only real knock is it runs a little light on deep bass, so a subwoofer still helps. Gamers aren't shut out either. You get 4K at 120 Hz, VRR, ALLM, Dolby Vision for games, and Sony's perfect for PS5 features like Auto HDR tone mapping and Auto Genre Picture Mode. Price? It launched at $3,499 for the 55-inch and $3,999 for the 65-inch, but the discounts hit fast. The 55-inch has dropped to around $2,500, and the 65-inch has been seen as low as roughly $300. So here's the catch, and for this one it's all about flexibility. This TV has 4 HDMI ports, but only 2 of them are the full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 inputs that handle 4K at 120 Hz, and one of those doubles as the EARC port for your soundbar. It also skips HDR10 Plus, tops out at 120 Hz instead of 165 Hz, and only comes in 55-inch and 65-inch sizes. Number 2 is the Samsung QN90F, and this is the TV for everyone who looked at those OLEDs and thought, yeah, but my living room has windows. Here's the quiet weakness of OLED. It makes a gorgeous picture, but it can't sustain the same kind of full-screen brightness that a great mini LED can, and in a sun-soaked room, that advantage matters. The QN90F is built to win that exact fight. It's Samsung's flagship 4K mini LED TV for 2025, and it delivers an incredibly bright picture, bright enough that it earned a reputation as one of the best TVs you can buy for sports, daytime viewing, and bright living spaces. But brightness is only half the magic. The QN90F carries Samsung's glare-free screen technology, the same anti-reflection approach that made such a splash on Samsung's flagship OLEDs, so instead of staring at a reflection of your own windows, you actually see the game. Pair that with Mini LED's ability to stay bright across the entire screen, and this is arguably the best bright room TV on the entire list. And because it's Mini LED, not OLED, there's zero burn in anxiety. Leave news tickers, sports scoreboards, financial channels, or game HUDs on screen for hours and never think twice about it. Under the hood, it runs Samsung's NQ4 AI Gen 3 processor with 4K AI Upscaling Pro, cleaning up lower resolution content on the fly. Plus Neo Quantum HDR Plus and powerful local dimming that keeps black surprisingly deep for an LED-based display. Motion is excellent too, which matters if your TV spends Sundays showing football instead of movies. Now gaming, and this is where it answers the Sony's biggest weakness head-on. You get 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, all 4 with motion accelerator, up to 4K 165 Hz, VRR, ALLM. FreeSync Premium Pro, and Samsung's Gaming Hub, which lets you stream cloud games without ever touching a console. For audio, there's Object Tracking Sound Plus with Dolby Atmos that follows the action around the screen, helping explosions, engines, and crowd noise feel like they're coming from the right place instead of a single speaker hidden underneath the TV. It also offers the widest size range on this list from 43 inches all the way up to a massive 115 inches. On price, Samsung's launch lineup ran from $1,399 for the 43-inch up to $15,000 for the 98-inch, with the 65-inch landing at $2,699. And like most Samsung TVs, discounts didn't take long to arrive. So what's the catch? For one type of buyer, it's a real one. The QN90F still doesn't support Dolby Vision. Samsung continues to back HDR10 Plus instead, and while plenty of content supports it, Dolby Vision remains the more common premium HDR format across major streaming services. And number 1 is the LG G6, the one TV on this list where I sat there genuinely hunting for a deal breaker and came up empty. Here's why it wins. Every other set we've covered is brilliant at one thing while quietly giving something up. The G6 refuses to give anything up. It's LG's flagship OLED for 2026, built around a new primary RGB tandem 2.0 panel with hyper-radiant color technology. And that's not a brochure claim. In independent testing, the G6 measured around 3,100 nits at peak and 471 nits full screen, calibrated numbers that were basically science fiction for an OLED just a couple of years ago. LG rates it about 20% brighter than last year's G5, with a reflection-free premium coating that drops screen reflectance below 0.5%. So it holds those deep blacks whether the room is pitch black or flooded with light. TechRadar flat out called LG's new OLED generation one of the biggest bright room improvements the technology has ever seen. Driving all of it is LG's Alpha 11 AI Gen 3 processor with enhanced image processing for cleaner upscaling, smoother gradation, and more refined color. And because it's still OLED, viewing angles are outstanding. The picture stays remarkably consistent even when you're sitting far off to the side. For HDR, it supports Dolby Vision, HDR10, and HLG. Now here's where it pulls ahead of everything else gaming. The G6 has 4 full HDMI 2.1 ports, and it runs 4K at up to 165 Hz with VRR, ALLM, NVIDIA G-Sync, AMD FreeSync Premium, and Dolby Vision Gaming. So you get Samsung's 4-port flexibility and the Dolby Vision support that Samsung leaves out in the same TV. It's even one of the first TVs capable of 4K 120 Hz cloud gaming with ultra-low latency Bluetooth controller support. WebOS runs it all, with 5 years of updates plus Google Cast and AirPlay 2 built in. It comes in 48, 55, 65, 77, and 83-inch sizes, with a giant 97-inch model available in the United States. Though heads up, that 97-inch version uses older panel hardware and tops out at 120 Hz, so it won't quite match the performance of the smaller models. On price, the 55-inch starts at $2,500, with larger sizes climbing quickly from there. So after all that, what's the catch? Honestly, it's mostly the sound. That ultra-thin design leaves little room for speakers, so the audio lacks the spaciousness and precision of Sony's acoustic surface system. So let's be honest one last time. There is no perfect TV. Every TV on this list asks you to give up something. The difference is that those compromises are so small, most people stop noticing them the day the TV gets mounted. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 4 is going in your living room? Drop it in the comments. I read every one of them. And if this video saved you from an expensive mistake, hit like, share, subscribe, and turn on the bell. because next time we're flipping the list around and looking at the TVs I'd avoid in 2026, and a couple of those names might surprise you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.